yeah, I saw the website. I found
So
that
as far as like the infinite, like the concept of the infinite or the word, and like it's a
yeah,
beautiful word. And when the word was said by you
uh,
before, there was a feeling in this body of like sort of extreme extreme comfort
really. Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm not surprised. It was your word. I mean, it obviously means something
and
to you.
sort of just like a rippling out.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. You're a very fortunate person. For me, it's terror. For me, it's terror because that's what it's all about. This is what it's a problem. This is a problem. If you can't be serious enough about this issue, the infinite and the eternal, that's the same thing. As a human being, you have this small chance to connect to it. It has to happen. You have to connect to this thing. You have to, otherwise you'll die. Yes, death is terrible. If you're not connected to that, death is going to be ferocious. So, yeah, it's a very important word.
Yeah.
I came across this gospel. I don't know if you how well you know the Bible. There's a Gospel of John, chapter 17. It really, it couldn't be made clearer that Christ was expecting his disciples to be enlightened. I think Christians don't understand this. I think they don't understand their own Bible. It's like they've read it 1,000 times and they haven't seen. Chapter 17 is explosive. They don't understand the word one has tremendous significance when Jesus says I and the Father are one, and then he prays for the disciples to be one just as we are one, so that they're perfectly one. You know, if you've neglected to study the Eastern traditions, you don't see that word is that's the that's the word, that's the ultimate word. That is tremendously significant. It doesn't mean that you're friends with Jesus. Forget it. That's not it at all. You haven't. And Jesus was expecting his disciples to see that he was God. So this is, I'm quite dismayed. Really, it's yeah. So it's in a way, it's an amazing thing. It's an amazing, amazing thing to see how that like what Fred's doing, what you're trying to do, is to get people to see the infinite. No more messing. This was Papaji. I don't know if you'd come across Papaji. You must have seen Punjaji, HWL Punjaji, Papaji. He was an Indian who connected with Ramana Maharshi, and he eventually he said he went all around India asking. He wanted to know God, and people said, "Well, you've got to practice for 40 years, 50 years." Then he went to see Ramana. He said, "Do you know God? Can you show me God?" And he said by the time he got to Ramana, he said, I've practiced for lifetimes at this. And now comes the time I don't want any more practice. I just want to see things. So by the time he arrived at Ramana, Ramana said, well, God is not an object. He said, you are God. And it turns the whole thing inside out for him. And he very quickly realized it, but that's the issue. People get this, addicted to practice, and there's a place for it. I'm not discounting it, but it's like if that's all you're thinking, that you just practice and practice and practice and practice and practice, and you just kill people like that. So So
Yeah,
like,
there's no practice that you could do to wake up.
yeah, well, yeah, I I have the ideas about direct transmission. Just, just
I'm
you can't explain it. Like Rupert Spira
losing
tries
your
to explain.
connection.
Uh,
Lost your connection.
okay, I'll see if I'll see if I can close something down here. Uh, yeah, oh, so there's a lot going on with that. People are using it's. I would like to see the religions actually inviting people in. I mean, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you just invite other people in if you know the way to enlightenment? If you've got some way, why not invite them in for a week? We'll host you for a week or a month or a year, and just tell us how you do it. Not even tell us, just. I think there's a sort of thing is about the vibration. There's something like being with people who've penetrated this. I think for my instinct says that's it because you can't explain it. It can't. There's no way to explain it because it's just convoluted. They say the seer is the seen and all of this, and you kind of you try to intellectually follow it. You won't you won't. It's not how to do it, and it has to be. I think there just has to be a
Yeah.
direct. You just have to be. I think you have to breathe the same air. That's what I think it is. Either the vibration or the air. Maybe it's the air. You have to breathe. I just have to come up with some theory like that because it's the only way you can explain it. Maybe because we're in the same building, have the vibration. That's that makes as much sense to me as any other thing that in my experience, being around people who are realized actually does make a difference, or in the past. I mean, now I'm so damaged, but to me, that's the issue. They somehow open the door for you. But I was reading that Philip Kapleau book also. He's the Zen people have different theories on whether you should talk about it or not. But anyway, some people are talking about it, some people aren't. Do you know this man called Brad Warner? Does that mean? Do you know anything about him? I think he lives in New York. I think he's a Zen teacher in New York, and he did a video the other day. He was criticizing Philip Kapleau. He called him phony. He said he was phony. I thought, wow, how could you call Philip Kapleau phony? He said, yes, he's phony. He's called himself Roshi. I was really I was just shocked that you would use such a word for that man. Have you read any of Philip Kapleau's books? He started Zen Buddhism in America. He was one of your first teachers. He wrote the very first manual in Zen Buddhism. The first.
No.
It's helped everybody. Everybody, even the people who hate him, love him. Even his enemies love him. So he's amazing. He died age 90. I might send you his obituary. His obituary is really. There's a magazine called Lion's Roar. I just glanced at it, but he died age 91. He died of Parkinson's disease, actually. And it seems that they took him outside in his chair and he died under a tree. It's really perfect, No one says anything about him. They say, okay, he was cranky and got ill-tempered, as though no one else gets ill-tempered. You wouldn't criticize someone for being angry. You would not angry, but just, that's all right. What's the matter with that? And why would you? And people now, they say, yeah, we didn't understand, but we're so grateful. In the end, they just say, yeah, you saved my life. So if he saved your life, what more can you say? You can criticize him if you like, but you just wouldn't. Why would you criticize someone? He saved your life, didn't you? Didn't he save your life? Yeah, well, yeah, he did. Yeah, so there's nothing to say. So people like Brad Warner, he's quite a highly attained person, but he said yes, he's. There's another man called Rama. I don't know if you know the first Rama. There's that naughty Rama, the one that died. Do you know that another? There's another Rama, the one with the big bushy hair. Did you know? Did you come across that one? He was also called himself a Zen master, but
No.
yeah, well, it's not worth knowing about him. Except that he was well known and in American circles, very acutely disappointing. It's really acutely disappointing. He didn't even have a vibration to him. It's not like he. I don't think he even used the word oneness. It's so bizarre. But anyway, so when I was with Fred, I was talking about, I've got this like dualism and non-dualism. For me, they're both good. Both, I'm not preferring one over the other. Fred seemed to say, with me, I'm non-dualistic, like, which is good, which is right. But yeah, so I discovered this week that the I mean, I should have known this 100 years ago. That Om sign. Do you know OM? They sometimes spell it AUM. Do you know that sign?
Sorry, just wanted to say, like, the idea, what about, and it could be just a concept at first, but just that everything is nothing, just nothing appearing
Yeah,
as a hand.
yeah. Oh, right. This is it. This is really, really exactly true. Exactly true. This is exactly the problem. I mean, this is really it's extremely significant. That, I mean, it's just never. It's nothing. You've got to understand. And in a way, I can see that. Like, I can see time is nothing. I can see the body is nothing. This screen in front of me is nothing. In some respect, I can see that it's it is nothing. There's nothing at the end of this conversation. There'll be nothing. It is nothing. It will be nothing. It couldn't be, and do something else that will also be nothing. You're holding on to nothing. There's nothing there. And then there's also everything, and then
Yes. And if you are this nothing,
yeah, well, you are.
if you are not separate from it,
Well, that's yeah. Well, I don't see that actually. I don't know how I would see that because
that
I
doesn't matter.
I just have thought. I mean, like at
It
the end of
doesn't
the day,
matter.
yeah,
There's no you. So you don't have to see it. It's all there is. It's the only thing.
nothing.
Yes.
Yeah, I get the theory. Really get the theory. I really, really get it. I can see that. I mean, and I've known that for a long time, but it's somehow I didn't properly connect to it. This is extremely important, but that's why with Fred I felt that you have to be like to have that insight, you have to have a life that's in order. Your life has to be in order. You know that? Like I would teach
It's not
jurisprudence.
important. It's not, it's not that it is important.
You think a life not in order is not important?
No, to see it, to see this nothing.
Not, well, I can see nothing, but it doesn't penetrate. It doesn't change me. In reality, I think it should bring joy, security. Actually, instead of insecurity, it should actually bring security. But in me, it just brings. Your life is in order. I can see that. Just look at the pictures you have on the wall. It's all in order. Everything's nice. You've got plants. You've got the nice curtain. Got a nice jersey on. Got your mic. Everything laid out beautifully. Isn't that perfect? That's order. If you look at the chaos behind me, this is my mother's bedroom actually. So there's some order there. I've asked you before. Are you conscious of dark energies? I think you answered last time, and you said that they can't get anywhere near you or something. I think that was your answer. You're probably aware of it. You probably this is my issue. The dark and the light. That's what's really disrupting everything.
You mentioned a different teacher, and I feel like I interrupted you. I want to know
Which teacher is that?
what it was. I don't remember.
I think it was Peter Cutler. I spend hours and hours listening to him. He just talks. He loves it. He loves talking, but he's really got a very fine energy. But he just talks. He just goes on and on about being, and awareness. Those are his two words. But he doesn't mind asking. Like I can ask, you can ask him any question. He doesn't. No hiding. You can't do that to monks because they don't talk. It's all secret. But for Peter, I just say, what happened before the Big Bang? Do you know? Can you ask that? He can ask questions and get answers. So I said, "There's questions." He says yes, but he can't. He can't express it. So, but he somehow can. He can kind of contract time. Somehow he got access to like
Yeah.
time has got not. It's got no real meaning. So it means that the past, the present, and the future, everything's in the present. So they think, wow, and the future is also in the present. Wow, this is really frightening. The future is also in the present. So you're talking very much about predestination and stuff like that. It gets to extremely. I mean, it just blows your mind. I mean, you think this. Why aren't they? I come back to this over and over again. This is primary school stuff. They leave this till you're dead, and then they say, "Oh, didn't you know that?" Well, why don't you teach this stuff at school when people might actually, it makes a difference. There is enlightenment. God is standing looking at you. I found that Christ, he looked at Philip, Philip said, show us God. And then Jesus said, I've been all this time with you, so many years, you can't see God? So then you begin to think that there's a lot of scriptures, the Christian scriptures, which have disappeared. He must have been talking about it continuously. And then he says to Philip, you mean you don't know? Or after all, it seems to be saying, like, after all I've told you, which we don't know what he told because it's all gone. And the reason it's gone is because no one knew what he was talking about. So they said, well, nothing to say. We don't know what he's talking about. He's off the end. Only John seemed to have the brains to pick it up. So it's you don't see anything like that in the first three Gospels, but John somehow seems to have had the brains. But yeah. So anyway, what you're saying is extremely, urgently, vital, important. The only thing that's needed now is for you to start shouting and screaming and banging the table. Peter Cutler says that God doesn't really care whether people get it, as long as someone gets it. Even as long as one person, he doesn't. It seems as if the rest of us, well, you don't get enlightened. It's not the big issue. I think, wow, that's a bit worrisome. It's up to you. Even God doesn't seem to care whether you get enlightened or not.
What does the word mean to you, enlightenment?
Well, you're right, really. It's a funny word. It's not a very good word. I don't think it's a very good word. I think I came across a Facebook page. They talked about oneness, something like that. I felt that was a much better word because it really means something. It was something like, I might send you a link to it, but I think they call the Facebook page like realization of oneness or something like that. And like if you're going to have a religion, that's what you would call it. The oneness religion, something like that. Instead of, you can call it Christianity or Hinduism if you like, but
to me, enlightenment implies light.
Yeah, which it is apparently. Well, you could tell me. I mean, I think that's what it is. I think awareness, being, is light. It is love. It is those two: life, intelligence, vitality, being.
Yeah.
The infinite.
So if there is only light, and if a person is full of light, would they be enlightened?
No. Not the way you put it. You put it in the wrong way. It's not like, I don't think it's like that. I think it's this word, being, is awareness. That puzzle. Being is awareness. Awareness is being. That's the same word apparently. It means the same thing. But then they've also got this word Sat Chit Ananda. Being, Sat Chit, consciousness, I suppose. And then.
But if there is only light, how could one person be enlightened and another person not?
Yeah, exactly. Well, exactly. Except there's something called avidya, which translates as ignorance. That's the thing that divides. Avidya, ignorance divides, which that's a key term. I know the term, and maybe you do, maybe you don't. I don't know, but avidya is the key. It divides everything. It's interesting. I talked to this Indian fellow. His name is A.I.R. Atmanin Ravi, and he's got this word consciousness. Consciousness means a mind that is free of thought. It's the mind. It's consciousness free of what mind. Mind is the problem. So consciousness means no mind. That's what he says. When the mind is ends, then you have consciousness. Consciousness is pure mind. I talked to him about the other day. I said, and then he said, well, the consciousness also has
I think
thought.
that enlightenment could be a thing, but it doesn't involve any individual.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Well, that's. So you're saying enlightenment is a universal. It's just a universal. It's another way of. You can't say someone gets enlightenment. There just is enlightenment as a. It's like a kind of universal, absolute, wonderful. I don't know if you could say wonderful, but
Just like
it's
saying there is only freedom or there
yeah,
is
yeah,
only
yeah,
nothing. You know, you
yeah,
could say there is only light, but you're giving sort of physical characteristics to something that doesn't have a physical characteristic.
yeah, yeah. I think
Because
it's
who I truly am and who you are, and so who you are, there's no quality
yeah,
to it.
yes. It's anyway. It's. I guess this is the way to forward is through these kind of either through discussions or meditation. I don't know. It's for you to decide. You're the in the end. You're the one who has to decide how to teach. It's up to you. The student just comes in all over the place. Teacher has to. The thing with Ramana and the great connections that when Papaji arrived at Ramana's place, he said he'd been practicing since the time of the Buddha. So by the time he arrived at Ramana's place, he was really in a very prime state. His enlightenment was immediate. The moment Papaji said that you are God, then the penny dropped. The whole chase was over. It was over in that instant. That was quite impressive. So practice leads you to the. He said practice means you have the merit to meet the teacher. It's a meeting that for him it's about
No, there's no practice that can cause an enlightenment. There's no teacher,
but it could get it
no
brings you
path,
to the teacher.
nothing.
No? You think there's no teacher. You say there's no connection between souls, no connection between the enlightened and the unenlightened.
No.
So there is just oneness. I think it's one of the insights where you see the teacher, the God, the student are one, like that. I think that's what you're saying. But that's quite a high insight, you know. And you drop that, when that becomes one, that oneness, mind blowing, absolutely blow your mind.
Doesn't become one, there's no unity, no no connection, no relationship.
There's no relationship between the teacher, the student, and
No
God.
relationship at all.
So how is there oneness then?
Just one thing.
They're just one thing without a relationship. There is just one thing. So the whole idea of there being three things or 10 things disappears somehow magically. How is it people
Not that it
can't?
disappears, it never was. If something is already one, there's no need to unite it. There's nothing missing. There's no relationship between one thing and another thing. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'd like to know. I mean, I'm stunned and amazed. The fact is, it's the reality is staring at us all in the face, and somehow or other, the student cannot see it. And that is the most amazing thing. You would think that you could get your finger and say, look there, that's it.
There's no one to point at anything.
When I reflect on it, I always end up with a somehow a center. Like I'm closer than you, say. There's a proximity distance, and so you always get the idea of there being even if there's one universe, there's still a somehow this is closer than that. Like sitting here is closer than the moon or the stars. That's all. The stars are more distant than the moon, and the moon is more distant than so on like that.
No seeing.
No scene.
No seeing, no hearing.
Wow. This is really very, very profound. It's extremely profound. How are you going to realize that? It's extremely, I don't know how you're going to
No
do it.
touch.
How do you get that? How do you break through to this thing? Have you described that I think actually you do you're very generous in your website, you talk about it. You don't go into, you more or less say what happened to you. You said that the car rolled 3 times. You said that you had chickenpox. So you've gone into quite a lot of detail, actually. I don't know if you've given a talk on it. That would be not that it makes a difference, but it would. I had a friend,
Nothing, but those are just stories that happen to this body that don't mean anything at all. One person can, wake up or whatever, have a glimpse of awakeness while they're standing on a bus, like Suzanne Siegel, or one person. I had a fever, but it doesn't mean anything. Another person can meditate or.
I think that you're favored though, because you had something as a child. I think you're a favored person, and you were born into a family, and your parents really must be something. I don't know what it is about it. You're extremely fortunate, unbelievably fortunate. Everything was lined up for you. Really, really fortunate person.
Because the body could see spirit.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, that was part of it. But I think your parents will have had something to do with it because they didn't block you in any way, or it might have encouraged you, or your community. You were born in New York, so this is really a good place to be born. I think really couldn't be better, really,
No, they didn't know because it wasn't communicated.
because you kept it because you didn't know to communicate it. You didn't even know it was unusual. I imagine you just thought it was normal. Your vision of angels.
No, it was so terrifying and I didn't know what it was.
Oh, interesting. Wow, terrifying.
Yeah, what it was.
I think you said
Yeah.
something. You were seeing something. Yeah, I think you said that in your web page. So I have a friend who took drugs. He took this hallucinogen, and he saw through using that drugs. And I think that must be also a fairly common route. But even that is not a guarantee, is it?
No, I didn't know what it was or what was happening to me until way later, until I went to live in the woods. And then I was able to be around quiet and the body could relax. And then I started to hear the voice of animals. And then my grandfather came back to me because who was coming to me was family members. my grandfather specifically, and he came back to me and it sort of explained what was happening there, like said he was sorry that he scared me and so on, because he was just coming to explain kind of what was happening.
Wow, you're really fortunate. You're so fortunate. You're very fortunate. Am I right in thinking of Dhamma transmission? You don't agree with that theory, do you? I think you're not
I
even.
think you're talking about energy, and there has been experience that being around certain individuals, even animals and plants,
Yeah.
can create a different experience for the body. Absolutely, and that's energy.
When I talk about duality, does that mean anything to you? If I, like with Fred, I said you have to be a respectful person. Like, if you want to make progress on the path, you have to be a respectful person. You have to see, you have to have respect for other human beings. If you haven't got respect, what use is that?
Yes, and there's no person who is dualistic. There's it's just
Yeah, that's
not what's
diff-
happening.
difficult for me to abandon. I see it very, I'm very attached to it actually.
That's beautiful. For you, it feels like almost like a, I don't know, but it appears that there's like a an appearance of a familial relationship there, a very close feeling of God or gods, or
I have a thing with Krishna.
spiritual people who
I
are
used to get, I used to get
getting it.
images. I used to get images with Krishna. Like I get these really fantastic images. Like I think the word Krishna, Krishna, and I get these images of, like really, like quite impressive. Like it's like obviously some kind of connection there.
Yeah. And Krishna is an avatar, I mean, in Hinduism, it's all like faces of God, but they're personal, they're energetic personalities. And
Yeah,
you can connect to them. You can have a relationship with them in the dream world, in the world of energy and form. Soul personalities or spirit spirits are energetic forms, part of the dream world, to be enjoyed, to be revered. It doesn't mean that it's real, but so what? If my liver, was inflamed, would I say, oh, my liver is not real? No, I'd go to a liver doctor or a specialist. And the same thing with energy, spirituality. If I want advice on what to do, I might ask an angel or my grandma, someone, and then get very clear advice and follow it.
do you use puja? Do you use bhakti? Is that part of your or not? Have you ever used mantras or not? Not really. No, obviously not. I think you're really into art, aren't you? It's not really. You don't use music. Not that I.
No, can you tell me about pujas?
Uh, well, I can only go on the people that Peter Cutler has. We were talking a lot about it this week, and he has the idea of using mantras, which are short phrases, and he's been using this word om, like that, and he uses it till the mind goes quiet. That's his way in, and he just says keep going until the mind goes quiet. That's his system. That's one system to take the mind into silence. The other person whose class is this Air Atman in Ravi. He's crazy about Shiva. he just sings and sings. He's incredible. Like the sort of almost like a almost like a boy. He seems to lose about 40 years when he starts talking about Shiva. He goes into this very like almost like a childlikeness there, almost like such innocence there when he's talking about Shiva. He'll just suddenly start singing, and he's writes songs. So his for him it's devotion, love, complete love for Shiva. I don't know why Shiva, but he's always had it. When he was a child, he was always taken to Shiva, 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 Shiva. So it's a slightly different way.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And it's not something that has to be repressed or that can't exist when there's a sort of a dropping away of the illusion of the individual. You can still have a relationship with your mother or with your brother or with pizza or whatever.
Your voice is very powerful. You know that. You know, if you trained it, very, very incredible. Your voice would be really incredible if you wanted to train it. Very powerful voice. I think powerful voice actually comes with spiritual development. I think people who are, you know, who are really centered. I think you develop this voice, which is very powerful. Actually, do you know that? You realize that? I don't know. I don't know how it works.
Thank you. My background is as a singer.
Oh, it is. Is it? Oh,
So
I
I
see.
did.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, then I knew that already somehow or other. Well, you could do it. I sent you those recordings. There's that incredible woman, that Sikh woman. Her name is Kaur. Do you know her?
Yeah, no.
She's a very attractive lady, but she's in Seattle. I thought you might connect up with her or somehow or other. I thought you might go in and see her, but she's very different in some ways from you. But you're very fortunate. There's a lot going on in America, and I'm sure there's a lot going on. But even still, you could just do stuff yourself. This Peter Cutler. He uses an accordion, which is quite. You get that. It gives you a sort of background sound, and I was listening to that actually, and I found it much easier to chant when you've got that dee dee, which he just do dee like that, and then he'll do like that. And I told him I was doing that.
You're a bit of a singer too.
No, yeah, I could have used my voice, and there are some very nice. Buddhists also have them, but they don't use them. They don't understand bhakti actually. The one phrase, for example, they could use me tancha sabalo kasming le tancha sabalo kasming metta, loving kindness, me tancha saba or lo kasming in throughout the world, loving kindness throughout the world. That's where me tan. It's part of the chant on loving kindness, but those three words. Metancha sabalokasming, metancha sabalokasming. The Buddhists have got supreme mantras if they want to, and you just chant it. You just chant it and chant as an act of devotion, or you can devote it. Like the Buddha stands for God, believe it or not. The word Buddha stands for God. I don't think the Buddhists realize this, by the way. Itipiso Bhagava Arahang Samma they're committed to that the Buddha is a kind of person, which is not the right thing. Itipiso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vinja Charana Sampanno Sugatolo. This is the Pali language. It's all short and long, so that's why you get that incredible. It's an oral tradition. That's how you remember a text, because it's got that da 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 da. That's the whole thing. So that's how it goes into memory very easily, because it's the sound and
Yeah.
the length. It locks into place. Once you get, if you want to remember text, long text, that's how you do it. Itipiso bhagava arahang samma sambuddho vinja charana sampanno sungato lokavidu anu purisanam sarti sattha deva manusanang buddho bhagavati. And if you look at their verses, they're all, most of them are 8 syllables. Uh, eight da 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 da. That's 8. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. That's 7. Da 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 da. That should be 8. Da
Beautiful.
da 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 da.
Da, da,
7. I don't.
da, da, da.
Itipiso. Uh, uh, um. Mano pubangama dhamma mano seta mano maya. That's the first 2 lines of the Dhammapada. 8 verse da 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 da. But there's a lot there, and it would. The Buddhists have got a lot. They would look at the Buddha. The Buddha is not the body of the Buddha. You know, the Buddha is something beyond the body. You've got to see that's God. Buddha means God. So anyway, this is. I thought maybe you would do something, but so he wanted. Peter was saying, "I've got to do this," which I did a bit. But
Thank you.
a great honor to meet you. I talk too much. I'm sorry, but I
I
just
love it. I
I
love
wish
to listen.
I wish you would scold me and tell me to go into oneness and realize the truth. Could you not say something to me that would lead me straight directly into full enlightenment? Could you not transmit the energy so I could penetrate reality in an instant?
No, there's nobody there.
How do I penetrate the illusion? How do I abandon? Do you know the term avidya? Does that mean anything to you or not? Do you know the term avidya? Do you know that word? You don't know it. You haven't heard the word. The Indians use it a lot. It's a key word in Buddhism. It just means they used to translate it as ignorance, but it's not. The word ignorance is not really the right word, but it's just the word that everyone uses, and everybody seems to know what it means. But it's something that blocks. It creates all the trouble. Comes from avidya. A-V. It's long A. Avid. A-V-I-J-J-A. No, it's a short A actually. Short A.
A perception of a separate self that's not real.
Yeah, but avidya is not. That's avidya is like a blockage. A-V-I-J-J-A. Avid. You've got to pronounce both the J's somehow. I don't know how you do it. Avidya. Avidya. That's ignorance, but you don't know it. But it's Well, anyway, it's a great honor to hear you. I wish you could release my extreme akusala karma, extreme bad karma that I've created. I
We all
feel
have
I've.
it, karma.
Do you understand? Like I feel I've offended the Lord. I feel I've deeply, I've profoundly offended the Lord. Does that mean anything to you? Fred told me off for it, for thinking like that.
I remember actually you said that you had offended someone and you felt like you harmed someone, and I suggested to call and apologize. Did
Yeah,
you do that?
yeah.
Did you?
I've apologized already. I have apologized. I did apologize. But it's too
Is
stupid
there
now.
something else, do you think,
There's nothing I
you
can
could
do. There's nothing
do
I
to
can do. It's
clear
just the problem is
the karma?
Alexis. The problem is that I wandered off by myself. This is the danger. This is the danger. It's like you. Who do you think you are? Who does anyone think they are to wander off the way I did? It's not like that. It's there's a. This is why the problem in Buddhism is that they're delaying. Everything's delay. You get enlightened not this week, next week, maybe never. Maybe there is, in fact, you're not going to get enlightened. Basically, that's the underlying message of Buddhism: is you're not. Don't expect to get enlightened because you're not. You don't get enlightened. Only special people get enlightened.
But this situation, this with this person, I mean, if there is karma, it might not just go away.
It's not
So
going to
if
go away.
there's something to attend to, if there's a debt to pay, you can pay it. And it's not really you, it's just energy. But that can create a feeling in the body of clearing.
Yeah, this is. It's interesting you use the word energy for that. Energy is what it's. One of those words that you should keep hearing. This word energy, and to call a karma is a kind of energy. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I still think love of God is, if you might look at, I might send you if you want, but this Atman in Ravi, he loves Shiva. He could sing, and he has this temple. In fact, he is a very wealthy businessman, and he's also a big philanthropist. He's looking after hundreds of the homeless people in India. And at some point in his he got the idea. Shiva told him, "Look, I want you to build a statue," which he did. He built the largest Shiva statue in India at the time. It's the largest one. He's got this in Bangalore. It's quite amazing what he's accomplished. And then when he was 40 or 50, 40, I think he decided that wasn't enough. He wasn't happy. He was on the point, interestingly, of building a Disneyland in India. He wanted to do this, and he was just about to do it. That's how wealthy he is. He's
India
vast.
is already a Disneyland. Have you been?
Yeah. Well, he was going to do it, and then he said, "This is not. This is." He At that point he said, "Okay, I'm not going to do it." That was a turning point. But he was on the. So then he went into religion, and he's now. But he's got this temple still in Bangalore, and he sits there in the evening singing and singing and singing and singing and singing and singing, and he writes all his own songs. And then once every day at the same time, he has this little Zoom class. We all join in, and then he asks questions, and it's a kind of discussion, really. That's his system. So, anyway, it's as I say, it's a great honor to see you.
Yeah,
And
I think the more and more dropping away of the illusion of the separate self, the karma can just clear itself.
in
It's just
uh, in
energy. It's just energy moving through
in Buddhism, they have
the body.
in Buddhism they have this very high category of karma. It's a very high word. It's a very frightening type of karma. Karma that For example, if you attack the Buddha or kill like that, it's a very major issue. This is fall into that. But I was really an expert in the rules. And that's a very dangerous thing to be. If you're anyone who's, it's not like that. You can't be expert. Anyone who thinks they're an expert, you have to stay with a teacher. The only safety is a teacher. Of mine now, I don't want any. I don't want any knowledge now. It can't be about. It's too much to know. You won't learn. If you think you know something, it's deadly. Deadly. You
Well,
think you know.
exactly. And the more the the illusory self can drop away, then the karma can just clear.
Yeah, like I think for me, the karma clears in relation to a teacher if you don't, in my view, because I've seen it. I've seen it myself partly. But how I ever recover from this disastrous situation. Anyway, I'll let you go. I appreciate your time. It's an extreme privilege to talk to you. Pay respects to you, and I'll go. Thank you very much. No.
With healing, I just wanted to say it's like there can be energy left in other time space realities. And then we can have these relationships in the dream world where we kind of brush up against each other. And then these feelings, like these big feelings, can get triggered. And then there's an opportunity for the energy to return home. And karma can be just cleared in the process.
Yeah, yeah. There's a thing. I, it's the thing with people like inside Buddhism. I think people really understand the importance of karma. Outside of Buddhism, it's not. There's not people aren't really that interested. I don't know if you're interested in it or not. The problem is that, in my view, is that there is not the book that needs to be written hasn't been written on karma. I would have done it myself. It doesn't have to be very long, but the Buddha's explanation, I'm not saying it's not complete. The problem is that the Buddha did not understand the concept of grace. He didn't include that in his explanation. But there is something like grace that you get. Karma can be taken from you, I think, by the teacher. In some respects, there is a possibility of grace. When you meet a teacher, they take something happens between you, can happen. But there's just there's so much to learn, and then there's so many subtleties and kind of
Yes,
sub
but
rules.
if there's no person there, then it just happens. The
Yeah,
clearing of karma or the learning, the lesson,
yeah,
whatever. And as that happens, then natural healing can take place where and a feeling can come up.
yeah,
And if there was a time in your life in the past where in the relative past where something happened and sort of energy got left behind, and then something might happen where there's an opportunity to for their energy to come home, and karma can be just cleared, just clear.
yeah. I
Yeah.
can believe it. Thank you very much. Incredible. I don't know what to say. Brilliant. I mean, it's very fine, but thank you very, 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 very much indeed. I'll pay respects to you, man. Thank you very, very, very much indeed. Greatest respects to you.
Thank you.
Bless you, man. Thank you, man. Bless you, man. Bless you, man. Bye now. Thank
See
you,
you
man.
next time.